أهلا بيكم. النهاردة هنبص بتركيز على مقتطفات من النص الملصق. معانا فصل بيحكي عن شخصية اسمها بيب، وتحديدا بعد زيارة غريبة لواحدة اسمها مس هافشام. اللي يهمنا هنا نفهم ليه بيب يعني حس انه لازم يخترع قصة كاملة يكذب على أخته على ضيفهم التقيل ده بامبي تشوك بخصوص اللي شافه هناك.
تمام.
الحكاية بتبدأ أول ما بيرجع البيت وأخته على طول يعني عايزة تعرف كل حاجة بالتفصيل.
والنقطة دي مهمة فعلا، حتة الضغط والخوف دي. هو يعني بيب كان حاسس انه لو حكى الحقيقة زي ما هي محدش هيفهم،
محدش هيستوعب.
بالظبط، محدش هيستوعب غرابة مس هافشام نفسها والمكان كله. التجربة كانت شخصية قوي وصعبة تتنقل، خصوصا لأخته بالذات.
أيوة، لأنها كمان بتتعامل معاه بفضول شديد وممكن بعنف كمان ساعات، فهو حاسس إن اللي شافه ده يعني أكبر من إنه يتحكي
فعلا.
والموضوع بيزيد تعقيد لما بيوصل بامبل تشوك الضيف اللي هو يعني واضح إنه عايز يعرف كل تفصيلة. بيب في الأول بيحاول يقاوم، صمت غريب كده وإجابات يدوب كلمة ورد غطاها، زي كويس إلى حد ما يا سيدي، كأنه بيعمل حائط كده.
المقاومة دي مفهومة، مش بس خوف طفل، لا، دي زي رد فعل على طريقتهم هم الفضولية دي واللي فيها تعالي شوية.
صح.
هو كأنه بيرفض إنهم يقتحموا خصوصية التجربة دي. حتى بامبل تشوك لما حاول يحرجه بأسئلة صعاب، بيب عمل نفسه مش فاهم، يعني عشان يبوظ له المحاولة.
بس لما الضغط بيزيد بقى وبيسألوه مباشرة، طب شكل مس هافشام إيه؟ عملتوا إيه جوه؟ هنا بقى بيب فتح بوابة الخيال تماما،
فتحها على الآخر.
قال لهم دي طويلة وسمرة وهي العكس تماما، وقال لهم إنها كانت قاعدة في عربية مخملية سودة جوه أوضتها.
عربية جوه أوضة؟ دي لوحدها حكاية.
جنون يعني.
فعلا جنون. والتفاصيل كمان ليها معنى. عربية فخمة جوه بيت شكله مهجور، وكلاب كبيرة بتتخانق على لحمة بتلو من طبق فضة، وكمان في كيك ونبيت في اطباق ذهب. كل ده جوه العربية اللي من غير حصنة دي.
خيال جامح جدا.
الخيال ده مش بس هروب من الحقيقة، لا، ده كأنه يعني بيبني عالم مبهر عشان يغطي على إحساسه بالدنيا اللي بدأ يحس بيه هناك، أو يمكن عشان يعمل حاجز محدش يقدر يعديه ويوصل لعالمه الداخلي.
وبيكمل كمان، لعبوا بأعلام وسيوف طلعوها من دولاب مليان مسدسات ومربى وحبوب، والأوضة كلها يعني كانت منورة شموره. بس
حكاية متكاملة الأركان.
الغريبة بقى إن بامبل تشوك واخته صدقوا أو عملوا نفسهم مصدقين. يمكن هم كمان كانوا محتاجين يسمعوا أي حاجة غريبة وخلاص.
أو يمكن القصة دي بغرابتها بتشبع فضولهم بطريقة ما، أو بتناسب فكرتهم عن حياة الناس الأغنياء الغريبة دي. بس الأهم من ده كله اللي حصل بعد كده.
أيوة بالظبط. نقطة التحول الحقيقية بقى لما جو جوز أخته بيرجع البيت. جو ده هو الشخص الوحيد اللي بيبقى مرتاح معاه بجد. أول ما بيشوف نظرة الدهشة والاستغراب في عينين جو وهو بيسمع القصص دي، كأن جو بيدور بعينه على العربية المخملية دي في المطبخ عندهم. هنا بيب بيحس بالذنب، ذنب تقيل قوي.
وليه تجاه جو بالذات؟
عشان العلاقة مختلفة.
بالظبط، ما فيهاش الخوف من الحكم أو العقاب اللي بيحسه مع أخته. جو بيمثل له الأمان، الصدق، فلما يكذب على جو بيحس إنه خان الثقة دي، مش مجرد حيلة عشان يهرب.
وده اللي بيخليه أول ما بامبل تشوك يمشي يروح جري على جو في الورشة ويعترف له.
قال له إيه؟
قال له دي حاجة فظيعة على جو، ده مش حقيقي، اعترف إن كل حرف قاله كان كذب.
طب ورد فعل جو كان إيه؟
هو ده بقى اللي لفت جدا.
أيوه.
جو طبعا اتصدم، لكن رد فعله ما كانش عنيف خالص، ركز على المبدأ نفسه. الكذب كذب،
يعني ما دخلش في تفاصيل الكذبة نفسها.
لا، هو وصل لبيه برسالة بسيطة ومباشرة. الصدق مهم والكذب مش هو الحل عشان تتخلص من إحساسك إنك عادي أو common زي ما استيلا هزقته وقالت له.
تمام.
جو حاول يطبطب عليه بنصيحة بسيطة كده بس عميقة في نفس الوقت. قال له عشان تبقى شخص مش عادي لازم الأول تبقى شخص عادي بيتعلم، زي الملك اللي لازم يعرف الحروف الأول.
حكمة بسيطة وجميلة.
قالوا لازم تكون طالب عادي قبل ما تبقى طالب غير عادي، وخد منه وعد إنه ما يكدبش تاني. نصيحة فيها حنية بصراحة.
حنية وصدق فعلا. لكن السؤال، هل النصيحة دي كانت كفاية؟ المشهد الأخير في المقتطفات دي بيورينا بيب وهو لوحده في أوضته بالليل، بيفكر، بس مش في الكذبة نفسها.
بيفكر في إيه؟
بيفكر في أصل المشكلة. بيفكر إزاي واحدة زي استيلا اللي شايفة نفسها دي هتشوف حد طيب زي جو بإيديه الخشنة وشغلته البسيطة كحداد. هنا بنشوف إن زيارة مس هافشام والكلمة اللي سمعها دي كلمة عادي زرعت جواه بذرة إحساس بالخزي وإدراك طبقي مفاجئ شكله كده هيغير نظرته لنفسه وللدنيا كلها.
يعني الكدبة كانت مجرد عرض لمشكلة أعمق بكتير كانت بتبدأ جواه.
بالظبط.
إحساس بالدونية، إنه شايف فوارق اجتماعية لأول مرة، وتأثير كلمة واحدة ممكن تكون نقطة تحول في حياته.
تماما.
وده بيخلينا نفكر في فكرة مهمة قوي طرحها النص في الآخر. إزاي يوم واحد بس أو لقاء واحد ممكن يغير مسار حياة بني آدم بالكامل؟ إيه الآثر اللي ممكن تسيبه لحظة بنحس فيها بالخزي أو بنكتشف فيها إن العالم ده أعقد وأكبر بكتير مما كنا فاكرين؟ سؤال يستاهل نفكر فيه فعلا.
We all know that feeling, right? That moment, especially maybe when you're younger, you experience something totally new, something big. And then you've got this like impossible job of trying to explain it to someone who just wouldn't get it.
Mm-hmm. It's that fascinating, sometimes really awkward collision between our own reality, which can be complex, messy even, and, the limits of language. Or maybe the limits of the listener's understanding.
Exactly. How do you bridge that? Do you even bother trying sometimes?
And what happens when you do try? Or maybe when you don't?
Right. So to really get into this, we're taking a close look today at Chapter 9 of Great Expectations. You probably remember this bit. Pip has just come back from his first totally weird visit to Miss Havisham's.
Oh, yeah. Saddest house. It's such a pivotal moment, isn't it? He's gone from his very normal, everyday world into this decaying, strange, almost gothic place. And bam, he's back home, facing his sister, Mrs. Joe, and Uncle Pumblechook. And their curiosity is, let's just say intense.
Intense is definitely one word for it. Forceful, maybe? There's just this huge gap between what Pip actually saw and felt and what his family expects to hear, or even what they can imagine.
Yeah.
And that's really our focus for this deep dive, this pressure, this real pressure to explain yourself, the fear of being misunderstood, and how that creates all this, internal conflict.
We're looking at the tricky nature of communication, how other people's expectations kind of push us to tell certain stories. And that feeling inside when your own experience just doesn't line up with what people want to hear.
Okay, so Pip walks in. The atmosphere is pretty charged. Dickens tells us straight away. I soon found myself getting heavily bumped from behind, having my face ignominiously shoved against the kitchen wall because I did not answer those questions at sufficient length. What hits you first about that?
Well, it's just the sheer physicality, isn't it? It's immediate. Before he can even really try to explain, or maybe because he can't explain quickly enough, he's met with violence. It just screams power imbalance. They don't seem interested in his actual experience, They want a story. They want the right answers.
Yeah, answers that satisfy them. And right in the middle of this, being shoved against the wall, Pip has this amazing insight. He thinks, if a dread of not being understood be hidden in the breasts of other young people, it is the key to many reservations.
It's incredible, really. It's like he already knows. He senses it's impossible to truly convey the strangeness of Miss Havisham, of Estella, of that whole house.
Yeah.
And it's not just that they won't believe him. It's deeper. He feels describing it truthfully would be, what did he say, coarse and treacherous.
Right.
Like it would somehow damage the memory or maybe expose Miss Havisham in a way he doesn't want to. He's already aware of sort of social stuff and wants to protect these weird figures he met.
It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we hold back because we're afraid people will misunderstand, or worse, just trivialize something important to us?
All the time, probably.
Okay, and then Uncle Pumblechook turns up. And that description. Fishy eyes and mouth open, his sandy hair inquisitively on end, and his waistcoat heaving with windy arithmetic. Just brilliant.
Oh, Pumblechook. He's just the embodiment of nosiness, isn't he? That sort of greasy, intrusive curiosity. You get the feeling his questions aren't about caring for Pip at all. It's about getting gossip, getting details he can chew on, and probably spread around later.
Definitely. His first question seems simple. Well, boy, how did you get on uptown? But Pip's answer, pretty well, just isn't good enough, is it?
Not at all. It tells you everything. Pumblechook isn't after us a simple update. He wants the dirt. He wants a performance.
Absolutely. Wants the juicy bits. And Pip, feeling cornered, maybe a bit stubborn too. Dickens has that line, whitewash on the forehead hardens the brain into a state of obstinacy, perhaps. He decides, okay, fine, and just starts making things up.
Yeah, the whitewash line is interesting. Like the pressure itself makes him dig his heels in.
Yeah.
He's got this impossible task, right? Translate this bizarre, surreal experience into something his very ordinary, very judgmental family will accept. So instead of trying and failing or getting punished more, he just switches tracks. He fabricates. It's a defense, really.
Yeah.
A very creative but ultimately flawed defense mechanism.
And the lies are just so wild. Miss Havisham in a black velvet coach, inside her room with gold plates, and then these huge dogs fighting over veal cutlets from a silver basket.
Yeah, pure fantasy. But it tells you something maybe about what Pip thinks would impress them or what he imagines rich people do. It's all about like exaggerated wealth and weird spectacle. The coach is such a strange, specific detail of like hidden luxury.
And the dogs fighting adds this almost violent gothic touch, maybe reflecting some of the unease he actually felt there.
Could be. It's like he's trying to build a story that fits some preconceived notion they might have, but dialed up to 11.
What's funny is how Mrs. Joe and Pumblechook react. They keep asking, in a black velvet coach. They're amazed, clearly, but they don't immediately shout liar.
No, they don't. It's like they're so astonished, or maybe just so entertained by the sheer weirdness of it, that they kind of go along with it. Pumblechook even tries to rationalize it, suggesting a sedan chair.
Right.
Maybe Pip sells it well. Or maybe their own world is so small that anything outside it seems possible. It shows how we sometimes prefer a good story, even crazy one, over questioning things too hard.
But you can see it's taking a toll on Pip. He calls himself perfectly frantic, a reckless witness under the torture. He even says later, looking back, how amazed he is at the lies he told. The internal conflict is really ramping up.
Oh, absolutely. He knows it's wrong. He's aware, even in the moment that he's spinning this web. That line shows his conscience kicking in. And it's very telling, isn't it, that he feels guilty towards Joe, but not really towards Mrs. Joe or Pumblechook. That shows you where his moral center really lies.
Yeah, that confession to Joe is just heartbreaking, almost. Joe is the one person whose opinion truly matters to Pip. He represents simple honesty.
And Joe's reaction, his confusion, his disbelief, especially asking again about the black velvet coach, it just highlights how utterly ridiculous the lies were.
It does. That specific detail again.
And then Joe just lays it out, plain and simple. Lies is lies. Howsoever they come, they didn't ought to come, and they come from the father of lies and work round to the same. No missing about.
So clear. So direct, it cuts right through all of Pip's justifications, doesn't it? Just pure, simple moral principle from Joe.
It really is. And then Joe gives him that amazing advice about how if you want to be uncommon, you have to do it by going straight, not crooked.
Such grounded wisdom.
Yeah, Joe gets it. He sees Pip wants something more, acknowledges he's smart, uncommon small, but an uncommon scholar. But he pulls him back to what matters. Integrity, that analogy he uses about the king having to learn the alphabet first. It's perfect. Real progress, real betterment, it comes from solid foundations, from truth, not from shortcuts and lies.
It's great advice. But even after that, after Joe's kindness and wisdom, Pip's mind is still churning, isn't it? He's immediately worrying about how common Estella would think Joe is, how thick his boots and how coarse his hands.
That shows just how deep that visit to Sada's house went. The poison, if you like, of class consciousness, of social comparison, it's already taken root. Despite Joe's goodness, Pip's already started seeing his own world through Estella's potentially judgmental eyes.
Yeah.
It really sets up the whole struggle he's going to face.
Yeah, it foreshadows so much. And that last paragraph of the chapter, it's incredibly powerful. That was a memorable day to me, for it made great changes in me.
Wow.
And then the direct address. Pause you who read this and think for a moment of the long chain of iron or gold, of thorns or flowers, that would never have bound you but for the formation of the first link on one memorable day.
Wow. It really frames the whole thing, doesn't it? This single day, this experience of being pressured, of lying, of confessing. It's not just an incident. It's the start of something huge. It's the first link in a chain that will define so much of his life. It shows how these moments, maybe even small ones, can just ripple outwards with massive consequences we never foresee.
So wrapping up our dive into this chapter, it really brings home that feeling, that discomfort of being misunderstood, especially when you're young and grappling with new things.
Definitely. And the temptation Pip faces, to just tell people what they seem to want to hear, to create a story that fits, even if it's not true. We see how easily that can happen.
But then there's Joe, the reminder of honesty. Simple, maybe, but profound. Even when it's hard, even when you think people won't get it.
Pip's struggle here, it's such a vivid picture of just how complicated it is trying to share our inner lives, our real experiences with other people.
So maybe something for you listening to think about. Can you recall a time you felt that same kind of pressure to explain something complex, maybe something personal, before you'd even fully processed it yourself?
Yeah. How has that desire, maybe for acceptance or just to avoid hassle, shaped the stories you've told about your own experiences?
And maybe think about that first link idea from the end of the chapter. What moments in your own life, maybe seemingly small, maybe even involving some misunderstanding or a slight bending of the truth, have ended up having really big, unexpected consequences down the line?
What are those truths, maybe uncomfortable ones, that ultimately shape how you see yourself and how you see the world? Something to ponder, perhaps.